Play It Again Sports specializes in baseball, softball, golf, and fitness. Stop in to buy, sell, or trade new and used sports and fitness equipment. Trade in and trade up at Play It Again Sports.
Welcome to another edition, last edition of the season of In the Hoop. I'm George Ayub with my friend Bobby Mills, the 1,000-yard guy. We are coming to you on theindependent.com. Our In the Hoop is brought to you by Play It Again Sports. We're going to talk state high school basketball championship Saturday, and then we'll talk a little bit in the second half of the program about some impressions from the season. We covered games, and of course we did a show every week. So Omaha Central, as expected, put a beat down on Papio, 69-44. It was a runaway from the first, wasn't it?
It was, and it was a runaway. I was just talking to Denton before. It was a runaway from the opening tip of game one.
Right.
They were focused.
Yeah, they were really focused, and people who, when they lost early in the season, people had some doubts creep in, but there was no doubt what they did there, and we'll talk a little bit later about the kind of dynasty that Eric Behrens has going at Central, but certainly no doubt. The Class B game was another story. South Sioux City and Scottsbluff in the finals, but South Sioux's march through that bracket was incredible. They were behind every game. You know, when they got down by a dozen, they had them right where they wanted them.
Oh, yeah, and the Scottsbluff is a very well-coached team. Tony Siskey's a great coach, but I think it boiled down to, in those kids' minds, they wanted to take back what they lost a year ago.
Right.
But it took great coaching, and to come back 3 days in a row was incredible.
Yeah, and that's draining. It's physically draining,
man.
but it's also emotionally draining. And so, great credit to the mental toughness of the South Sioux City kids. The other thing I loved about that game was the winning basket was the result of an incredible pass.
That was a college play, wasn't it? That
beautiful.
Feed? Oh my goodness!
And of course, they closed on him, and they. Because they thought he was going to take the shot. Everybody did. He found Aldrich under there. And
boy, that was a pretty play.
It was a great play.
If you're going to get beat, that's the...
Yeah, it was a great play. So and a good ball game. Wahoo finishes undefeated in C1. Shades of the old days.
Boy, I guess no real star on that team.
No.
Just team. And what a great thing. And to go undefeated must be so difficult.
Right.
And I don't know, the pressure just must be terrible, but they came out. Boone gave them a good game, though, didn't they?
Right. And I was going to say, I love Boone's run at the end of the year. We know they have good athletes, and they play aggressively, and they got down there, and I think they really did a great job, and they pushed them 45-42 was the final.
They were in it till the end.
Right.
That's a wonderful team.
That's a good team. So congratulations to Boone Central Newman Grove on making that run. We go to C2, and Sutton, the team that we've watched all year, Steve Sponsberg's team.
Sponge.
The Sponge
yes.
didn't have an answer for 6'9" Kuchera.
That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just absolutely.
Yeah. And, when you get to C1, C2, particularly C2, and you have a kid that's that size and can move. I mean, he's a good athlete.
Good footwork.
And he plays hard, and he plays with determination. He's going to be a load, and I think that was the difference.
He's a real good big man, and I don't know how he got to Southern Valley and Oxford, because if you remember, his father was a tremendous player at Litchfield,
right.
Steve. So, and John Miller I think he's one of the best coaches ever from up at Chambers, and his wife helps him. That's so cool.
I love that.
And John knew he had years left coaching, and he just turned that team into a championship team. But like you say, one big guy like that in C2 or below.
And it's not just, and I'm glad you brought that up about the coaching, because you can have a big guy, but you got to know what to do with him. You got to know what kind of offense you run. You got to get the other kids to buy in to what their roles are, and you got to balance it with, we're going to get you the ball, but you can't. It's a high school kid. You can't say we're going to live and die by you, even though that may work out that way. You got to keep. There's a lot of coaching that goes on with that, I think.
Just perfectly formulated offense around the big guy.
Yeah. Again, Sutton had another good year, and they lost some great players last year.
They did.
And they came right out here. They're in the finals. So, congratulations to
them.
It's
a good run for them, you bet.
House Dodge throw together a championship. Two good programs.
Young coach, my goodness.
Win by 15 over Paxton with a very young coach. So, I expect that. They'll continue the tradition at Howells anyway.
Oh, yes.
With great athletes football, basketball.
I can't believe that.
Getting's giving me a bad time because I keep pounding the desk. So sorry.
You got to remember he's from Northeast Nebraska, and there are you have some opinions about your rivals in that area.
Yeah.
So
Then finally, our friends at Spalding Academy, a double overtime loss to Wynot in a terrific game.
oh, it was that close to going to a triple overtime.
And like Boone Central, great run for Spalding through the tournament.
Well, I don't remember the last time they were at state. It had to be when. Well, I don't remember. But
Seven seed. I think they came in as a 7 seed.
1991, I think, when they were so.
Oh, and my goodness,
Yeah.
that's a long. And Joey Imus did a terrific job
great job.
coaching. And there's some young guys that play.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a team.
So
in the
that'll be a
future.
team that we can look for in the future. So congratulations to the 6 state champions: Omaha Central, South Sioux City, Wahoo, Southern Valley, Howes Dodge, and Wynot. They did a great job, and they get to take home the big trophies. The last tournament at the Devaney Center, or so they tell us.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose if there's a strike in construction, they'll be back there.
Good.
They'll be back there next year. So we'll be back in the second half of the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the season, kind of wrap things up here on our last In the Hoop show. But right now, some messages from Play It Again Sports.
Play It Again Sports is more than a used equipment store. We offer new equipment in all the top brands: Easton Baseball and Softball, TaylorMade in Golf, Schwinn in Fitness, and we're the only Cliff Keen wrestling dealer in town. Stop into Garrett for spring and summer activities. Trade in and trade up at Play It Again Sports.
All right, we're back with In the Hoop. George Ayub and Bobby Mills. Denton Cushing behind the camera telling me to quit pounding on the table and generally telling me what to do. Okay, so we're at the end of basketball season, and just some impressions about the year. You know, one of the things that comes to mind is, we talked about this last week, is the Northwest Girls State Championship and how they did it, played as a team. They had Mackenzie Brown, obviously a star player,
Right.
but you know there was a lot of old school to their victory, playing as a team, passing. The girls stepping up and doing their jobs. It was good to see that. It's something that I'll remember from this season.
Me too. That's Mike Hertzberg, though. He came in. He just got those girls to buy into the team fact, and Kenzie Brown became a team player. Not that she wasn't before, but that just was the right coach and the right combination. They had some plays with those backdoor passes that reminded me of a boys' team.
Mm-hmm.
So they worked on specific things, never gave up. As witnessed in the championship game.
And they had some tough losses,
Yeah.
a couple during the year that really could have, derailed.
Oh, it could have, especially the
derailed.
district final.
Right,
My
exactly.
goodness.
Yeah. In some ways, Omaha Central has a team like that. Obviously, they have the star and a gal who's going to be probably a good college player.
He will
I really
be.
believe he will. And they obviously have tremendous athletes who
Oh,
can do a lot of
yes.
things, but they do it with tenacious defense. They want to play hard. So it's good to see that, because sometimes in basketball in particular, I think the star factor can take over, and we emphasize one player as opposed to the team effort. And so that was good to see that. It's good to take that away. Another thing we saw this year, we saw Bill Gavers coach his last high school basketball game.
Wow, that didn't seem possible,
No, it
does it? He's
doesn't.
been there, I don't know how many years.
22 years,
wow,
I think it was.
That's a long
Around
time.
Central Catholic. And, of course, as you obviously know, people watching, that he's going to Hastings College. And so he was recruiting at
Oh, he had
at
to.
the state
He
tournament,
had to, right.
looking at talent there. So we wish Bill the best, and it'll change the landscape at Central Catholic. Tino Martinez, a longtime assistant, will be taking over the reins, but it'll be it's just going to be different when not having Coach Gavers on the sidelines.
Yeah, well, I think Tino knows his basketball. He's been there 8 years. It's kind of funny because he was a great shooter in high school. So I'm wondering if there'll be a little more emphasis on putting the ball in the hoop. Who knows?
Yeah,
He's
Tino
a smart guy.
Yeah, he was a terrific high school player. I can remember him in the old East Gym at Grand Island
Oh
Senior
boy,
High.
no better place to watch.
Throwing in a lot of points there. So
yeah.
Anyway, we wish Tino good luck, and good luck to Bill Gavers at Hastings College
You
as
bet.
he starts a new chapter in his basketball life. Another thing I think that we saw a lot of this year were young teams.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
Like, for example, Grand Island Senior High School, a Class A team, had no seniors
Oh, man.
on its entire roster.
That's something. boy, did they get, and they took some lumps, but boy, did they get the experience.
They got some great experience, and so and games that we broadcast. I noticed that Lincoln Northeast had a very young team. I think they had one senior that played a lot. Grand Island Central Catholic has a terrific sophomore class.
Yep, they do.
That will make some noise. So, I think that basketball is. I think we're seeing more and more younger kids able to play either just because of the cycle of things, but also I think kids, are more prepared now to play as sophomores than they have been in the past, just because of the weight room, because they play a lot of traveling basketball, those kinds of things.
I think it's nice to see with the boys. It's not odd to see a girl start as a freshman, but it's nice to see when the boys are maturing younger, and as you said, weight room and all the traveling teams. Mm-hmm. I think traveling teams do help if they have the right coach. It makes a big difference in what happens the next winter.
The thing with the traveling teams is as long as they're building skills, because for a lot of times that you see those traveling teams, you might see a traveling team that has a kid from, for example, in Grand Island, they might have a kid that's going to go to Central Catholic, a kid that's going to go to Northwest, a kid that's going to go to senior high. So they will not end up playing together. So you want to build skill,
right?
As opposed to you want to have chemistry, obviously, but you don't get the kind of chemistry that you have when you get back in your own school and you have to play as a group.
But the skill set to teach that is very important at that level.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it doesn't happen, but that's the breaks.
Yeah. And then finally, your thoughts, Bobby. I know you and Denton both were at the state tournament all 3 days, and so what do you think about this talk about Omaha Central being the Class A or any class biggest dynasty that we've had in high school basketball in Nebraska?
Well, I always thought Lincoln Northeast was when they were at the prime with the T. Mason and all those people, and then B.J. Nannon. I just think. Is it BJ? Yeah, it's one of the Nannons. But I think that, to me, was the most dominant team. Central has to be right up there, if not the most, especially at the state tournament this year. My gosh.
Well, it was a dominating performance, and I think they left no doubt. You have to look at the teams over a course of years. Stu Popsill in his column this morning, did look back over how the runs of Northeast and the runs of Central during the state tournament. Out here in central Nebraska, we saw Omaha Central play a nationally ranked high school team and really handled them.
I don't think anybody expected that, and I certainly don't think Oak Hill expected that. But I think, haven't they won 7 out of the last 8 state championships? Right. I don't know who else has done that. Nobody. Right. So you'd have to. It'd be a good debate.
Number-wise, I don't think you can top that.
No.
At least in Class A. Now, of course, those great Wahoo teams.
Yes.
That had the 104-game winning streak. You have to throw them into the mix.
Oh yes.
As well, and the Seward girls.
Seward girls.
The Seward girls. They had a 100+ game winning streak. So, it's fun. It's fun to talk about, but
it's good cafe or a restaurant or whatever coach, you want to do.
Used to say, it all boils down to a 15-footer. Can you make it?
Boy, that's exactly right.
Well, I guess these days it's a 17-point.
Yeah, that's right.
For the 3-pointer. But anyway, a great season of basketball, and I enjoyed it. Thank you
for having
the show
me,
and,
both of you gentlemen.
And doing our broadcast. We enjoyed that, and we'll be doing more of those next year. And thanks for joining us on In the Hoop each week. We appreciate you tuning in and seeing what's going on with high school basketball. For Bobby Mills, I'm George Ayub, Denton Cushing behind the camera. Thanks for watching In the Hoop.
Play It Again Sports specializes in baseball, softball, golf, and fitness. Stop in to buy, sell, or trade new and used sports and fitness equipment. Trade in and trade up at Play It Again Sports.